Shakil, let me ask you a hard question. Uh, if we can calculate our prayer timings, why can't we discard our moon sighting? The
Yeah,
prayer timing versus the moon sighting. We
yeah.
can calculate for prayer time. Why can't we calculate for moon?
I think we'll jump to that section because alhamdulillah we had something on that as well. Is so the question about why don't we calculate prayer timings? So it's actually within the words themselves. Prayer timings and moon sightings. Prayer timings and moon sightings. What is the condition that we need so that way we can pray? We need to know the timing. Okay. What is the condition that we need to perform or practice or to start the month of Ramadan? We need the sighting, not the possibility of sighting. They're two different things here. When it comes to what the Prophet commanded, he says that you have to pray the salah according to its time. And the Prophet said you have to perform the month of Ramadan or practice the month of Ramadan according to its sighting, not the possibility of it. People misunderstand what a visibility curve is. It's not
One
telling you that.
one other quick thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we see in the wording of the hadith, nowhere does it say look at the sky when you see the sun, is like when you see the sun is this and this and this, then you have to cite it this way. No, rather in those wordings of the hadith, you'll see when that happens, when the timing comes in, when the sun rises, when the sun
Ra-
sets.
Rather,
Right.
even in the Quran, أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا. Each of them refers to references time.
Exactly.
The time happening. Whereas for moon sighting, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam doesn't say when the moon is born or when the moon is visible or when the moon is sightable. No, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says when you sight it. Otherwise, add a day and do the next day.
Mufti Buhan, I have
Very
a question
simple.
for you. If we follow this logic that people say, oh, if you follow calculations for salah, you have to follow for moon sighting as well. Well, if the sky is cloudy and we cannot sight the moon, although it is there, we have another command that we do, which is complete 30 days. But if we're supposed to look at the sun and the shadows for the salah, but the skies are cloudy, then what do?
We're supposed to not pray the Maghrib or the Asr. Pray it tomorrow, I guess, to make up.
That's
No.
not what yeah. Yeah. The Prophet tells you what to do. He tells you exactly what to do. About the idea about the moon and about sighting.
Sallallahu alayhi.
So
And the salahs repeat every day, 5 times a day, every single day. So let's say today is cloudy. Yesterday wasn't cloudy. We knew the timing from yesterday. It's repeating every single day. Whereas the moon repeats only once a month.
Okay,
yeah.
so our beloved scholars, let's give our listeners a proper fiqh answer to why we are cannot calculate our moon sighting, but we are allowed to calculate our prayer timings. What is the fiqh behind it, really? In short.
Yeah, so the fiqh answer in short is just what we call qiyas ma'al fariq, right? There's a mistake in the analogy here. We're trying to say, oh, if the prayer times are calculated, then why don't we calculate our months? Well, the prayer times are based on the sun, and the calendar is based off the moon. These are two different bodies, heavenly bodies. They don't work the same way. There's no way you can make a proper in terms of analogy. This is not analogous at all. You can't say that you can compare this to that. It's like apples and oranges or something even more beyond that. So when it comes to what our scholars have understood, and this is not, I'm telling you, anything we're talking about here is from our ulama of the past. Imam Qarafi, in his beautiful book, he's a Maliki scholar of earlier times in the 600s or so. And so he speaks in his book Al-Furuq. He says that he asks a question about what is the difference between prayer timings, why we have a calendar for prayer timings, and we don't have a calendar for the moon sightings. He goes and says the same thing we just explained here. He says, on the other hand, in terms of case of prayer times in the bold here, he stipulates simply the entrance of the times. What Mufti Burhan and Mufti Idris was saying, it says that Allah Ta'ala said about the timing of the prayer, but the Nabi Alayhi Salam didn't say the timing of the birth of the moon, the astronomical birth of the moon. It is about the sighting. Hence, we are able to determine them by any means possible. For instance, and then he explains that the Quran says about Dulukus Shams, it going down. And so there's a difference between the heavenly body being used. So a person cannot make this analogy here. Okay, and there are a lot of false analogies. You're going to hear a lot of stuff. People say, "Oh, Muslims, they changed their opinion when it came to loudspeakers or microphones or prayer time." It's like all the stuff you hear, and a person who studied fiqh and deen, you're like, man, this doesn't even fit. This is again apples and oranges. They're not the same issues here. How could a person compare
Shakil, one
loudspeakers?
one quick thing. There's an idea in our deen that about making about an innovation that is an innovation that is for an objective that is already established in the deen, but to simplify it, or to for ease of it, or to accommodate it. For example, in our deen we are told to do straighten the lines, to straighten the rows of the sufuf in salah. In order to do that, in the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what they did was they stood and they actually, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by his own blessed hands, he would actually even touch sometimes the Sahaba to make sure that they're in line. Other times they would look in one side and he would say that if someone shot an arrow, it would not hit anyone. We need it to be that straight. And then we know that Umar radiallahu anhu used to even have a stick which he used to go by, and he used to check that everyone's heels are aligned. Point is that that was an objective in the deen to straighten the lines. Now we use lines on the carpet. We use lines on the carpet. So someone says, well, that's an innovation. That's not what we call a bid'ah. That's technically an innovation, yes, but that's not a bid'ah. A bid'ah is something that you make in the deen that did not exist in the deen, that was never there in the deen, or something that was already told for us to do in a particular way, and we're changing the deen. That's called the bid'ah. So, in terms of the microphone, it is an objective of the deen to get the imam's voice to the back rows. It is an objective of the deen to straighten the rows. It is an objective of the deen to have the Muslims pray in time. And the deen did not tell us particularly use the lines on the carpet, or use a stick, or use your hands. Did
Yeah.
not say use a mukabbir to say in the back, or did not say use they come early in the salah so you can hear the imam in the first row. The deen did not specify how we're supposed to obtain or accomplish that objective.
It didn't say to
Rather,
drive to the masjid or take a motorcycle
exactly.
or a bicycle or walk.
So those are not bid'at. Those are good innovations. Those are good things that are additions to help accommodate and accomplish and establish goal of the deen already. Whereas in terms of the moon sighting, explicitly Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us how we're supposed to do our month, how we're supposed to start our month. Now to change that is called a bid'ah. To
Yeah.
change it is called a bid'ah.
Yeah, it's like, for example, like a person would say that, oh, if the objective of wudu is just to become pure, right? Because this is the correct analogy here, wudu and tayammum. Person's like, all right, I have a new method now. I have this dry cleaning you can do on the body. So now my body will be dry clean. Now I'm completely pure. Would any scholar, any credible scholar with his name or his title, would he ever say that this is a valid way, that he didn't use water at all, or he didn't do tayammum? Like, what kind of nonsense is that? The same thing about the Prophet. Again, people conflate this umur adiyah and umur ta'abbudiyah. Like, there's things which are habitual, or things related to habits, for example, prayer rows and things like that, which the Prophet left ambiguous and flexible for people. Just the objective is to straighten the row, like Mufti Burhan had mentioned. And things that are acts of worship, though, you don't have a say now. You don't have a say to say that, okay, the maqsad is this, the goal is this, so therefore I can change it now and I can do whatever I want. No, if there is wudu and tayammum, those are the only two valid ways of making sure a person can pray. Similarly, for the month of the moon, month of Ramadan, you have to either sight it on the 29th, or you complete 30 days. Those are the two options you have here. This is the proper analogy that a person can actually make. Yeah, so mashallah, I think one of the things is that one brother asked this question about this fact that can we even trust these astronomers? And this is actually a really big question, and this is something that we have to make clear about everyone who's listening as well. Is that I want to make it clear about this idea of these calculations, because you feel like it's 100% definite. You feel like it's a cut and finished issue. There's nothing else to say about it. But themselves, the astronomers themselves have a difference of opinion. They disagree about things. They have a different way of looking at it. They have different angles and degrees that they deal with, and when they calculate the visibility curves. So is it even possible to calculate the sighting of the moon? This is actually a section
So,
on the U.S. Go ahead.
no, go. I'll say it right after. Go ahead.
The U.S. Naval Observatory section for Muslims. They have a specific section, the U.S. Naval Observatory for Muslims. You can see it on their website. Right now it's down. I checked it yesterday. It'll be up. They are just making updates to it. So in there, they write, although the date and time of each new moon can be computed exactly, the visibility of the lunar crescent as a function of the moon's age, the time counted from the new moon, depends on many factors and cannot be predicted with certainty. I want everyone to check out this next part here. Some of the earliest reliable sightings of the crescent occur near elongations of around 10 degrees. 10 degrees, meaning the difference in terms of checking the the angle in the versus the moon and the sun, and the light that has to reflect off of it, right? Which they call the elongation. It says that the degree has to be around 10 degrees. What our Muslims normally do, if you're going to check anyone who declares, they'll say we declare it off of 8 degrees. The U.S. Naval Observatory is telling you that 10 degrees are probably the earliest that you can find. Our Muslims are using 8 degrees. Okay, simply specifying the age or elongation of the moon cannot tell the whole story. There's a lot more that's considered, and this is just to give you an idea about how much they have to think about before they can say that, yeah, this is definitively sure that you can actually identify or see the moon. So if this is what we're hearing about, right, that even themselves have disagreements, and astronomers don't know if it's been observed or if it's possibly observed or not, how could a person start their act of ibadah on this type of doubt?